boys and girls. Today we're going to be talking about the difference between similes and metaphors. Similes and metaphors are both ways that you can compare things that are not alike. So a simile is a comparison between two things that really are not very much alike at all, but they share a similar characteristic. They also use the words like or as. So in this simile, the moon is like a cookie. It's comparing the moon to a cookie. Well, how are these two things alike? Well, they're both round in shape, so maybe it's comparing the shape. The moon is like a cookie. So maybe we know that the moon is a full moon because the only time the moon is a full circle is when it is a full moon. So comparing a moon to a cookie, it uses the word like, and really the moon and a cookie are not very much alike at all. But in this case, they have one similarity, their shape. A metaphor is another way to compare things, but a metaphor is a direct comparison. It's saying one thing is another thing. Again, comparing two things that are not really similar. For example, the wind was a whisper. Comparing the wind to a whisper. Well, a wind and a whisper are not really very similar at all, except, they're both very quiet. So maybe it's saying that the wind was very quiet. So if we think about similes or metaphors, sometimes it's challenging to decide. Is this figurative language a simile? Is it a metaphor? Or is it nothing? So for example, in this example, a robin is like a bluebird. Well, a robin and a bluebird, well, they're both birds. This is not a simile at all because robins and bluebirds both are birds, right? So it's not comparing things that are unlike at all. They're comparing two things that are very much alike, both birds. So this is neither a simile nor a metaphor. The moon is a friendly face. Well, this is saying a direct comparison. The moon is a friendly face. So maybe this is saying like maybe the moon looked like it had a face on it as we looked at it in outer space. Maybe the moon is being very friendly or it's very nice to look at. So this is a metaphor because it's saying the moon is a friendly face, a direct comparison, saying the moon is something else. And maybe it means that it's very nice to look at. It's always nice to look at a friendly face. A rooster is like an alarm clock. Oh, I see the word like there, and I see two things being compared that are not usually alike. A rooster being compared to an alarm clock. Well, a rooster is a bird, an alarm clock is an appliance. Those are not alike, but they are alike because they both make really loud noises in the morning. So this is a simile because it's comparing a rooster to an alarm clock. So we have our rooster being compared to an alarm clock. Two things that are very different, but they're the same because they both make loud noises in the morning. Another example is the sun is a star. The sun is being compared to a star. It's a direct comparison because it's saying the sun is a star. But wait a second. When I think about this, the sun really is a star. So this is not a simile and it's not a metaphor. It's not a simile or a metaphor because the sun really is a star. It's an example of a star. So we can see that when we are using these comparisons that we have to be really thoughtful. Does it use the word like or as? And we also have to think about, is it a direct comparison? That's a metaphor. If it uses like or as, that's a simile. And we also have to think about whether or not the two things being compared are different enough, but with a similarity that they could be compared. If they're from the same category, remember, they're not a simile or a metaphor.